And so you see in these Japanese interiors, there is a feeling of total freedom from clutter. These houses very largely dispense with furniture. They don't have great awkward bedsteads and tables and cumbersome things to be moved around every time one pulls up one's stakes. You sleep on the floor with quilts thrown down that can be rolled up and put in closets during the day, and so have your bedroom space free for other things. And I think the point of this is that, really, you can only live in such surroundings with comfort if you're at peace in yourself. In other words, you know how some people, when they get out in the spaces of the desert, they feel uncomfortable. Or if there's a long period of silence, many of us feel positively uncomfortable. And so in the same way, we tend to like our living spaces cluttered, full of all sorts of things to distract our minds and our eyes. And this is simply symptomatic of our lack of interior peace. To be able to live in such surroundings, you must be as serene as these surroundings. This, incidentally, shows the tokonoma, or alcove, in a tea room. This alcove is rather important because it is a sort of survival in the secular house of the altar space in a Buddhist temple. And it's of great interest for the feeling of Zen that the altar space is no longer occupied by a specifically religious object. In this particular tokonoma here, there is a piece of calligraphy hanging, of writing, but very often the principal decoration of the tokonoma will simply be a flower arrangement. Flowers instead of an image, emphasizing the particular Zen point that when the master is asked, what is the fundamental principle of Buddhism? He may well reply, a branch of plum blossom. This is it. And we see now how this feeling for the spacious architecture of Japan, which flows into its surroundings, is increasingly being taken up by American architects. Houses, particularly on the West Coast, have for several years been showing the influence of Japanese and Chinese design, but more particularly Japanese. The increasing merging of the house with its surroundings, the increasing use of empty space. But there is one respect, I think, in which the Western architect is not quite understanding the spirit of Japanese architecture, and this is because the culture in which he works does not quite understand the spirit too. You know, many of our new homes showing Japanese influence are just pretty much a roof covering a living area with perhaps some partitioning for the bathroom. But there's no privacy in so many of our modern homes. We have what we call togetherness. That means human beings treated as sardines in a can, all lumped together. And this absence of privacy, this absence of seclusion in these great barns where the whole family lives on top of everybody else, is not at all in the spirit of Zen. Notice that the Japanese house, as I showed it to you, is full of screens and partitions. The whole idea of creating houses like this, with gardens like this in small areas, with all sorts of screens dividing areas off, is to create privacy and peace and an atmosphere of solitude in a densely populated area. And so where we use this kind of architectural feeling to throw people together, you know, we're not really putting them together. You don't get human people to cooperate with each other by throwing them at each other's heads. Just in the same way, You don't get the full development of human personality by trying to cultivate personality. Did you ever hear of anybody who had true personality, who got it through taking a course on how to win friends and influence people, or how to be a real person? You never did. It's rather when you forget about your personality and you become interested in something else that you become interesting to other people. And so in the same way, it's when you learn to love solitude that, paradoxically it may seem, you're able the better to get on with others. This is an example of what's sometimes called a paradox. I simply call it the backwards law, which runs all the way through Taoist and Zen philosophy, that contrary things come from actions, unexpected things. That is to say, when you would be strong, very often the best course is to be weak. When you would be powerful, the best course is often to withdraw.